Welcome guys to Learn Extra Live. It's grade 10 Maths Lit today with Haley. And guys, last week was graphs, tables and equations. So Haley, can you explain to us what's happening this week?
This week we're going to be doing conversions and time, and it's really important, so don't go anywhere.
So guys, make sure, as I always say, get your pens, pads out, make notes, write stuff. And guys, talk to me on the Facebook page. Tweet me if that's your thing. But guys, the whole point is that you talk to each other. Make sure that you guys if you have any issues, make sure that you guys are talking to each other all the time. And guys, we'll see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to grade 10 Maths Literacy today. We're going to be working on some conversions in time with Haley. So guys, as I always say, hope you're making notes, hope you're writing the stuff down, because it's super important, guys. And I'm actually going to hand over to Haley, but before I do that, I want to say a quick shout out from Indiana. She says hi to everybody. She misses you so much, and she's getting better soon. So guys, don't have to worry about her. And she wants to also say big shout out to James, that she loves you. James, who's in the actually control room, who kind of helped her out when she was kind of not feeling well, and he knows what happened. But she says thank you for keeping calm and cool. And I'm going to hand over to Haley, who's going to take us through the rest of the lesson.
Thanks, Ty. Hi everybody, and Indy, hope you're feeling better. So we miss you here, so you better get better and hurry back. Before we start with conversion and time, let's go through our numbers. Now, no, Ty's got our numbers for us, so let's write them down. I'll find some space. Okay, so we got last week. Last week
we had 7.
We had 7. Was it
704, if I'm not mistaken.
7304. Wasn't it 7304?
Yes, actually.
7304.
Yes.
This week, today,
8144.
we have finally met our 8144. We have got to our 8,000. I'm going to do this in yellow. Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, come on, guys. Tell all your friends. We want to get to 10,000.
And we're having a party.
And apparently we're having a party. So, okay, let's have a party. Come on, guys. While we're doing the shout-outs, I'm just going to say a shout-out to everybody that I teach in class, so at school. Hi, everybody. So now let's carry on with today's lesson. Okay, starting off, we had, I think we've got our space there for my thing. Right, we have posted our challenge question. So let's go through the challenge question quickly, and we'll answer it at the end of the show. The maximum predicted temperature for New York today is 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Calculate the temperature in degrees Celsius. Now, in South Africa, we deal with degrees Celsius. That's degrees Celsius. In America, they deal with degrees Fahrenheit. So we need to be able to compare the two, especially if we're traveling to America. They give you the steps to convert. So steps to convert, but this is converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now, what is the question asking us? The question is asking us to convert degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not going to give you any more clues. I'm going to carry on with the question. And it says, to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you multiply the Celsius temperature by 9, divide by 5, and add 32. Now, come on, guys, try it. Post your answers, and let's see at the end of the show if we actually get some right answers. I hope we do. Right, moving on. Starting off with conversions. Hey, this is really important for a section that we're going to be doing later on in the year, where we deal with perimeter, area, and volume. But these are the basics. Now, I know most of you have done some form of conversion previously in the lower grades. So I'm going to imagine that you haven't done anything, and we're going to basically start from scratch. So the first thing we're going to be doing is dealing with length. Length or distance. So how big something is and how far it is. The important measurements for us to remember are, and I'm going to start, I don't know where my centimeter is. Right, millimeters. I actually want to change this. Right, we've got 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Okay, 1 meter is 10 decimeters. I'm going to actually ignore that because we don't really use it. So let's ignore it for now. 1 meter is 100 centimeters, and 1 meter is also 1,000 millimeters, which basically means that 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. Now, let's take a step back from this. And I want you to think about the ruler that you have in your pencil case. Now, I wish I actually had a ruler to show you. But anyway, you can imagine the ruler. That is your little cheat. It is what you take into every exam, and nobody's going to say anything about it. You can cheat with it. How do we cheat with it? Well, from this ruler, we can see that 1 centimeter is equal to 100. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. Right, or 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. We can see that on our ruler. Right, now I want you to imagine your ruler. Your ruler is about 30 centimeters. If I talk about a meter, I know that it is bigger than 10 because that is definitely not a meter. And I know if I take one big step, that's a meter. So how many centimeters must there be in a meter when I'm dealing with the zeros? So it can be 10, 100, 1,000. So think about that, and we'll see that 1 meter is actually 100 centimeters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. It's a big step. So it's kind of my ruler, and if I take my ruler, I probably need just over 3 rulers to get a meter. Okay, so that's a meter. Then if I think about, well, how many meters are in 1 kilometer? Now, if I think about this distance, I always try and picture something in reality. When I'm driving on the highway, I see that the off-ramp that I need is 1 kilometer away. And it still takes me quite a while to actually get to the off-ramp. So I know that that 1 kilometer is not a small unit. It is not 10 meters. Therefore, it must be 1,000 meters. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Now that I've got that set out, I haven't even had to remember these. I've calculated them kind of logically, and now we use this to do our calculations to convert. And what we do is, when we go from kilometers to meters, or from meters to centimeters, or centimeters to millimeters, in fact, if I go from this column to this column, so let's do the 1 column, let's just highlight it in green. So if I go from the green to the, let's try red, to the red. If I go from green to red, what am I doing with my number? My number 1 becomes 1,000. My number 1 here becomes 100. My number 1 there becomes 10. I'm making it bigger. And how do I make it bigger? I times. And then the same thing can be said about this side. If I go from red to green, what am I doing? I am making the number smaller. So I divide. And then it all depends on what I'm converting. So if I'm going to be converting from meters to centimeters, what do I convert? What do I times or divide? Well, that depends on which row I'm in. Okay, my row moved a little bit. If I'm converting from meters to centimeters, I'm going to use 100. If I'm converting from kilometers to meters, I'm going to use 1,000. And centimeters to millimeters, I'm going to use 10. If I'm going 2 steps, like let's say I'm going from centimeters to kilometers. Well, first of all, I'm going from this side, from the 1, to kilometers. No, sorry, I'm going from this side to there. I'm going from one side to the other. So I'm going from red to green, I'm going to divide. But what am I dividing by? I'm dividing by, first I've got to go to meters, so I'm dividing by 100, and then I'm going to kilometers. I go back across and I'm dividing by 1,000, so it's another 3 zeros. I'm actually going to be dividing by 100,000 units. I hope that makes sense, but when we actually work with it, it'll start to make a little bit more sense. Okay, we can also use, let's try to find a little bit more space. We can also use this King Henry. Now, I don't know if any of you have done this. King Henry died a miserable death called measles. That's our anagram to remember. There's a word for that. It's not an anagram. It's something else.
Yes.
Ty's going to check up for us. Maybe you can Google it for us. But anyway, we've got kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. So those are the conversions. We really only need, now what happened to my space? We really only need, going up too far, okay. let's do this in red again. We need kilometers, we need meters, we need centimeters and millimeters. Those are the ones that we're really going to deal with. And why do I say that? The reason is those are the ones that we see in everyday life. And at the end of the day, maths lit is everyday life. We don't talk about hectometers. We don't talk about decameters. So we deal with those ones. And what we do in this case is when we're converting, we fill in what we've got. So what do I mean? So if I've got, say, 100, let's call it 1,250 centimeters. What do I do? I finish my number where the centimeters are. So centimeters, I finish my number there. So there's my 0, there's my 5, there's my 2, and there's my 1. Now, if I want to convert it to, let's say, meters, all I need to do is now finish the number where meters are. So I found my meters, which is there. I'm going to put my decimal after meters. So that becomes 12,5 meters. Hope that makes a little bit of sense as well. So if you, whichever way you want to do this, you need to practice, and that's the gist of it. So let's move on to the next unit. Right, now we're converting mass. I'm starting in the middle. 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. Now, what I like to do is I like to think about things in the house. So what do I think about? I think about rice or flour or milli meal or whatever it is that I'm buying in kilograms. And then with that, I've got a concept of how much is a gram, okay? And how many grams go into that packet. So 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. From there, we can go further and say, well, in actual fact, 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. Okay? And we can go a little bit further and say 1 ton is 1,000 kilograms. The nice thing about the mass is that we're only dealing with 1,000. We don't have a number in between. So that's quite easy to remember and to just learn. Again, we're going to be going, if I'm going from one to the other, let's try get some colors here. So let's try use the same colors or similar colors to what I was using earlier. Right. So let's do the red. I'm going from 1 ton or 1 kilogram or 1 gram, and let's do another color. Okay, so let's do yellow now and color those in. Now, if I'm going from red to yellow, what is happening? I'm going from a small number. Now I'm ignoring my unit. I'm going from a small number to a big number. I'm going to multiply. And going the other way around, from yellow to red, well, let's try that with a red pen. From yellow to red, I'm going from a big number to a small number, and I'm going to divide. Okay, I hope that makes sense now. Do you think we can follow this?
Yeah, making sense to me. So
making sense to you. I'm glad I'm making sense to someone. Let's see the last one, what we've got conversions here. Now, this is one, converting volume. This is one that I always think about. I always walk around with my bottle of water, and my bottle of water holds 750 mils. So I know that a liter of water is a little bit bigger than this. And I know I don't drink a full liter when I finish one of these bottles, which I do quite regularly. So I know that 1 liter is 1,000 mils. A kiloliter is 1,000 liters. And again, we can do the same thing. And I don't think I need to draw it again, but when we're going from one to the other, if it's going from a small number to a big number, we're going to multiply, and this way we're going to divide. Okay, and I lost my line. Right, and then let's look at baking and cooking. This is also something that we use every day. So what is important for us to remember is that a teaspoon is 5 mils. Now, please remember that if this comes up in a question that you have to answer, then they will give you this information. So you don't have to remember everything. The conversions you probably will need to remember. But as far as the baking instructions, that will probably be given to you. A teaspoon is 5 mils, 1 tablespoon is 15 mils, and 1 cup is 250 mils. Okay? And I always remember that number, that 250 mils, because they say you should drink 8 cups of water a day. Am I right? So
Yes.
8 cups of water. Now, I don't know how big your cups are, and I've always wondered that. Well, okay, I can drink 8 little cups. We can drink 8 cups like Taz got, and maybe we should measure how many mils are in there. But if you had to take a cup measure that you would use for baking, that's 250 mils. So in actual fact, how much water should you drink in a day? Well, if we're taking 8 cups, so let's just do this calculation quickly. So we're taking 250 times by 8. Well, okay, what do we get? We get 2,000 moles. And I don't just speak in 2,000 moles. I'm not going to say I'm going to go and drink 2,000 moles of water right now. How do I speak? I speak in liters. Exactly. So I need to convert that to liters. So I'm going to go back and check. I've got to divide by 1,000. So I'm going to divide this by 1,000. And therefore, I should be drinking 2 liters of water per day. And that makes sense. That I can do. My bottle, well, a little bit more of a complicated calculation to work out how many bottles I should be drinking. Okay, let's move on to our question. If we can, if the board's going to cooperate with us. Oh no, we can't move on to a question yet. We've still got to do time. Converting of time. Really, really important. Firstly, some facts that we need to remember. So it's a quick recap. Guys, I know that you know this, but we're going to go through it anyway. So 1 week is 7 days. And remember, in those 7 days, we've got 5 weekdays and 2 weekend days. And that's kind of important when we maybe do cell phones. Because if you have to work out your cell phone contract, then we've got call more time, and we've got peak time and off-peak time, and then the weekends are important. So it's 7 days. 1 day is 24 hours. What's an important fact? 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. And I think the one that we left off here is that we've got 52 weeks in a year. 52 weeks is equal to 1 year. Okay, and I can't think of any others. So 52 weeks in a year. Oh no, we do have another one. We normally, for Maths Lit, whenever we discuss months, we normally deal with 4 weeks in a month. It's not exactly true. What do I mean by it's not exactly true? Well, we've got 7 days in a week, and if I'm dealing with 4, then I'm actually dealing with 4 times 7, which is 28. And there was a joke about this, 28 days. How many months of the year have 28 days? So let's see if Ty can answer the question. Ty, do you remember?
Every month?
Every month has 28 days. Well done. Yeah, most people answer February because it's the only month with 28 days. Except not this year.
Trick question, guys. Trick question.
But what we normally do, just to make things easier and more simple when we're marking or when you're actually doing your calculations, we always say in a 4-week month. If they don't, if you get a question where they say to you how many weeks in a month, or how you need to do a calculation where there's a month and you've already calculated per week, then times by 4 and just tell us, we've assumed that it's a 4-week month, or we've assumed it's February. That's fine. As long as the examiner and your teacher knows what you're doing, we should be fine. So there's our 28 days. Okay, and now we've got our first question. Have we got enough time to carry on with this?
If we could just take a break, like a mini quick recap so people just know, if we could just go to the conversions quickly.
A mini quick recap. We can do a mini quick recap. So let's go back to, right. Okay, let's go back to converting length. We're dealing with length. We're dealing with kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters. So 1,000 kilometers in a meter. 1,000 meters in a kilometer, okay, 100 centimeters in a meter, 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So those are your conversions. So exactly what I've got on the board. And then we've got our mass, which is your kilograms. So you've got 1,000 milligrams in a gram, 1,000 grams in a kilogram, and 1,000 kilograms in a ton. That made a little bit more sense than this one.
Just getting the hang of it.
I'm getting the hang of this recap, okay? Liters, we've got 1,000 milliliters in a liter, and 1,000 liters in a kiloliter. Okay? And our baking conversions, we've got 1 teaspoon is 5 moles, 1 tablespoon is 15 moles, and 1 cup is 250 moles. So that we'll probably use later in a question. And finally, with our conversion of weeks, we've got 1 week is 7 days, 1 day 24 hours, 1 hour 60 minutes, 1 minute, 60 seconds, 52 weeks in a year, and finally 4 weeks in a month for conversion and calculation purposes.
So guys, I hope you're paying attention because we're about to do some questions and a couple of examples. So guys, make sure if you're having any issues, if you're lost anywhere, post them on the page so I can get them to Haley so we can help you guys out. So guys, we'll see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. I hope you guys have got your thinking hats on, like I've got mine. Always got it on, always. Anyway, guys, hope you guys are making notes. You guys are talking to each other on the page. If you guys are lost anywhere, make sure you're chatting. And guys, I'm loving the fact that a lot of people you guys have attacked that question. So guys, the challenge question is up on the page, so go for it. Answer, help each other out. Guys, that's why it's there for you. The page is there for you. Make sure you keep talking to me, keep posting on the page, and I'll get those questions to Haley if you're lost anywhere. So Haley, you take it away.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, guys, let's start with question 1. So question 1 reads, and we're going to read the whole question. Sam decided to start going for a run each morning to get fit. He buys a pedometer. Oops, I've lost my color pen. Right. He buys a pedometer to measure how far he runs. A pedometer is just something that you put on you while you're running or walking, and it actually measures how many steps you take. So we're going to carry on that. Before he uses the pedometer, he runs 10 steps. So he runs 10 steps and he measures this distance. The pedometer calculates that his average running step length is 65 centimeters long. So basically the machine has done it for him, but it's worked out that every step that he takes is 65 centimeters. Then on his first run, the pedometer counts that he ran 5,642 steps. And that's about 5,642 steps more than I could do. But we want to know, how far did Sam run measured in centimeters? So what do we need to do now? Well, we know how far each step is that he takes. We know that that is 65 centimeters. And we need to know how far in centimeters his total was. So we're going to take the total steps that he ran and we're going to just times it by 65. So that's 5,642. And these are steps. Now I think I'm going to need a calculator for that. So let's get our calculator up. Oops, we lost our calculator. Right, let's get our calculator up, and we've got 65 times by 5,642. And whenever I use the calculator, guys, and I get into the habit of doing it, just check that you actually have the correct answers, the correct numbers typed into the calculator. And we get an answer of 366,730. 366,730. So now that's what we've got to remember. 366,760. And that is centimeters. Have we answered the question? How far did he run? Measure in centimeters. We have answered the question. We don't speak like that, so I have a feeling they're going to actually ask us to change that into something more realistic. How far did Sam run measured in meters? Well, there you go. There's our meters. So he did 366,760 centimeters. And now they want to know how many meters. Now going from centimeters to meters, I'll quickly do my 10. I'm going to do this 1, 1, 1. That was millimeters. I'm actually not going to redraw this. I've got it already. But how many centimeters? There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Which way am I going? I'm going from centimeters to meters. So I'm going to be dividing. I'm going from a big number to a small number. So I need to divide by 100. I can do that on the calculator, or I can just move my decimal and we get 366. I'm going to move my decimal twice. 3667,60. Now, do I need that zero? Is quite an important question that often comes up in my classes. And I only need it if I need 2 decimal places and if I'm dealing with money. So I don't need that zero, and I've got that many meters. 3,667,6 meters. We don't often speak like that. We normally speak in kilometers. But the question didn't ask us to change it into kilometers. So I'd imagine that we would have said, no, Sam actually ran so many kilometers. But it hasn't asked for that, so I'm going to carry on and go to the next part of the question. how many steps must Sam run if he wants to run a distance of 3.2 kilometers? That's the reason I never changed that. So we want to run 3.2 kilometers. Now, first of all, I know steps in centimeters. So I need to actually change my kilometers into centimeters first, because I know that one step was 65 centimeters. I know I'm going to need that fact because I want to know how many steps. So let's change that into meters, and then let's change it into centimeters. So we're going to go, I'm going to find a little bit more space here. Right, first of all, let's use a different color. So I'm going to say 3.2. Right, I'm going from kilometers. Now I know that I've got 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. And I've already got that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Just rewriting it, so we've got it on the board at the moment. So I'm going here, I'm going from a small number to a big number, I need to times, and I'm going to times by 1,000. Now I can actually do this in one step and go straight through to centimeters, but I've times by 1,000, so that gives me my meters. Now I need to times by another 100, so I'm going to just add another 2 zeros to get how many centimeters. So if we need to use the calculator, we can. I'm trying to find our calculator. 3.2, and we're timesing by 1,000, that's 1, 2, 3 zeros, and another 2 zeros for centimeters, and I get 320,000 centimeters. So let's go back to our board. That's 320,000 centimeters. But that's not my answer. The answer wants to know how many steps must he take. So what am I going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide by 65 centimeters, because each step was 65 centimeters, and it'll give me the number of steps. So now luckily I've still got that number on the calculator. All I need to do is divide by 65, and I get an answer of 4923,07. I can probably ignore that 07. When we're dealing with 3.2, if we like just a fraction short of 3.2, I think we can actually say that's 3.2. Don't you think that we're probably just like a couple of centimeters short? So 4923 steps. So if he takes 4,923 steps. I don't know about you, Ty, but that's also still in about 4,923 steps more than I could
Sounds
take.
like a lot.
It does sound
A
like
lot.
It's actually quite a nice calculation, though, to know that if you're running and you're going running and you're going to be doing like a 5-kilometer run, how many steps is that? That's quite an interesting thing. I always think I should wear one of those pedometers, because I'm sure teaching, I'm walking a fortune. Let's not go running, but I'm definitely walking up and down and around my classroom. I must do thousands and thousands of steps.
Exactly.
I need to get myself one of those. Right, let's move on to the next question.
We could convert that to money, people would be walking everywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, question 2. Right, Sibongile sends parcels and books and DVDs to schools around the country. She negotiates a deal with the courier company. For parcels less than 5 kilograms, there is a charge of 75 Rand. For each additional kilogram, there is a charge of 5 Rand. So, a parcel, if it's less than 5 kilograms, it is 75 Rand, and if it's more, then she pays 5 Rand per kilogram. A set of Learn Extra DVDs and books have a mass of 6,428 grams. So, first part of our question says, convert the mass to kilograms. So we've got 6,428 grams. Now remember I said this was the easy one, and we can picture like that tub of margarine, but picture that rice or the millimil and sugar that I was talking about earlier. So we know that we've got 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. So what am I doing? I'm going to be going from a big number to a small number, so I'm going to divide. And what am I dividing by? I'm dividing by 1,000. So we actually have an answer here of 6,428 grams. Now, I know that you're all going to be instinctively wanting to round this off to 2 decimal places. I can leave my answer like that because I've got a feeling I'm going to be using that answer in the next part of the question. But it would not be wrong to say 6,43 grams. Okay, so to round off would be fine. Just be careful when you're rounding off volume, because if I had to put volume into my water, my bottle, I know my bottle holds 750 mils. I cannot fit 751. It's going to overflow. So just be careful when you're rounding off volume that you can't go over a specific shape or bottle. I'm going to leave my answer exactly like it is, because now it tells me how much will it cost to deliver the parcel. So what do we know about delivering? For the first 5 kilograms, we're paying 75 Rand. So I know I'm paying for 5 kilograms, I'm paying 75 Rand. And then for every additional one, I'm paying an extra 5 Rand. I think it was 5 Rand. I'm just going to quickly go up to the question and check. It was an additional charge of 5 Rand. Now my question to you is, how many kilograms are we sending? Now the question doesn't say anything about being able to round off or being charged for less than a kilogram. We're paying for every additional kilogram up to a kilogram 5 Rand. So what we actually need to do is our 6,428. We're first going to take away the 5 kilograms because that's my 75 Rand. I'm going to be left with 1,428 kilograms. Now, to charge this, I'm going to actually have to make that into 2 kilograms because I'm paying 5 Rand per kilogram. And 2 kilograms is an additional 5 Rand each, so that's another 10 Rand. So what am I paying in total? I'm going to add those two. So in total, we're paying 85 Rand for books to be shipped around the country if they weigh that amount of weight. Okay, let's go to the next part of the question, or the next question. What's happened? Right, question 3. Indiana, this is for you, because Indy, we miss you. So Indiana wants to bake some biscuits. So I'm guessing that this is what we think you're doing while you're recuperating.
Exactly.
The recipe requires the following. So we've got a cup of sugar, 3/4 a cup of margarine, egg. Remember that 3-4 is actually 3/4. So that's one thing that you might not have seen if you're not bakers and cooks. So 3/4 a cup of margarine, we got 1 egg. I'm not going to read the entire ingredient, all the ingredients, tablespoons, teaspoons, and etc., etc. So I don't need to read the entire recipe, unless of course I'm going to go and bake it. We found this information in a recipe book. So that's where this comes from. It tells us for dry ingredients, 1 cup is equal to 228,8 grams. Remember earlier I was talking about moles and I told you 1 cup was 250 moles. But now moles and grams are not the same thing, and grams goes into a whole lot of things that if you were doing science you would be doing with density and things like that. All we need to know is that the weight is not the same as the moles. 1 tablespoon is 14,3 grams, and 1 tablespoon is actually equal to 3 teaspoons. Right, now Indiana does not have a measuring cup or tablespoon, but she has a scale that measures mass in grams. So my guess is we're going to have to help Indiana out to convert some of these ingredients so that she can actually use them to cook. I think we must actually convince her that she needs to cook. Is she online right now?
She must bring them into studio.
She must bring them into studio. Yeah. I never brought our Smarties that I promised us last week.
Exactly. I'm still waiting patiently.
Got to remember to bring those Smarties. Okay, so let's see what it actually asks us to help her with. Calculate the mass of the following dry ingredients she needs to weigh. So, sugar. First thing I need to know is how much sugar does she need? So we go back to the recipe, and sugar, we need, let's delete this, we need 1 cup of sugar. So for sugar, I need 1 cup. Now remember, she doesn't have a cup measurement. So I go to my conversions here, and I see that 1 cup is actually 228,8 grams. So clearly, 1 cup of sugar, we need 228,8 grams of sugar. It's as simple as that. And these are the kind of questions that are really nice when they come up, because they're easy, good marks.
Simple marks.
And you know what? They give the kids confidence. So
Exactly.
do those easy questions and don't leave anything like that out. Right, next one is flour. So I'm going to go back to my recipe. I'm getting bored with this yellow. I think I need to change colors. So let's do green for a while. So how much flour do we need in the recipe? Go back to my recipe. Flour, I need 1 1/4 cups. So I'd use 1 1/4 cups of flour. Each cup is 228. Now, first of all, I can't deal with this 1 1/4. I need to convert that into something that I can actually put onto my calculator. So, what is a quarter? Well, a quarter is actually 0.25, and we should probably know that's 1.25 cups. That makes it easier for me to put it onto my calculator. But if you don't have that and you can't work that out, so then use your calculator to actually decide, well, I've got 1 divided by 4, and it'll give you the decimal. Because it's much easier to use 1.25 as a conversion rather than 1 1/4. And if you're using a scientific calculator, just be careful with the way your calculator does mixed numbers. So I know a lot of the kids that I teach actually struggle with that. So practice with your calculator with simple numbers and make sure that you understand how your calculator works. But remember, we don't need a scientific calculator. So we just use one in the studio. Now, each cup is 228.8 grams. So we're going to times this. And I think I lost my pen, I did that, times this by 228.8 grams. Okay, let's get our calculator out, and we're going to have, it's 1.25 times by 228, that's not 228, 228.8, and we get an answer of 286 grams. Now I want to discuss something with you quickly. Maybe Ty can get in on this discussion. What did I say? It was 200 and, can't remember what I said.
86.
286. 200, yeah, lost that. Try that again. 286. What I was trying to actually say, 286 grams of flour. What I want to discuss is that would I actually sit and measure if I'm baking 228.8 grams of flour or 286 grams of flour? Would I actually sit and measure it exactly? Or do you think it's going to make a huge difference if I go 300 grams of flour?
It's kind of round about the same thing, so you should be fine.
Round about the same thing. And with sugar, I could probably go 225 grams. Hey, and that's the one thing that's really interesting about cooking is you can estimate a little bit and have that little bit of leeway. If you're going to answer me like that and say, well, actual fact, I need 300 grams, then just give an explanation. Because I think I would probably have measured this out. And maybe 275 grams, I don't think I would have made it exact. And I don't think Indiana would have done it either.
No.
So just bear in mind that with your context of what you're dealing with. So cooking, we could probably change it a little bit. Hey, let's try cocoa powder. How much cocoa powder do we need? Cocoa powder. We need 8 tablespoons. So 8 tablespoons. I'm going to change my color again just because I can. So we need 8 tablespoons. And just notice my abbreviation. Thank you. My mind's gone crazy today. 8 tablespoons. Tablespoons has to be with a capital T. Otherwise it looks like a teaspoon. So small T, teaspoon, big T, or bigger, tablespoon. So 8 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and now we need, how much was a tablespoon? 14.3 grams. So clearly I'm going to be multiplying this by 14.3 grams to get how many grams of powder we need. So let's use that. Okay, we've got 8 times 14.3, just double check that we got it, and it is 114.4 grams. 114.4. That's my pen. Oops, 114.4 grams. And again, I would definitely have rounded this to 110 grams or to 115 grams, and that's feasible. But I think I would just say to your teacher, I do know exactly what I'm doing. So that's my answer, and then I would say, well, okay, that's actually close to 110 grams, and I'm sure it would be fine if we had a little bit less cocoa. Baking powder. How much baking powder do we need? We need, where's our baking powder? A half a teaspoon. We need a half a teaspoon of baking powder. So, there's a little bit more space. We need a half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now with this conversion, with India not having tablespoons or cup conversions, a little bit harder for us to calculate because we know that 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. And we only know our measurements for grams. So what we can actually do is let's try to work out from here how many grams are in 1 teaspoon. So if I've got 1 tablespoon is 14,3. So we've got 14,3 grams is 1 tablespoon. And 1 tablespoon is in actual fact 3 teaspoons. I think I left my TSP. Right, so 14,3 grams is actually 3 teaspoons. But I want to know what 1 teaspoon is. So I'm going to use a ratio that we haven't used for a while, but I'm hoping you still remember what to do. Well, we're going to change this to 1 teaspoon and work out the rate for 1 teaspoon. So I'm doing, what do I do from 3 to get to 1? I'm going to divide by 3. So I'm going to do the same thing this side. I'm going to divide by 3. So 14,3 divided by 3, let's get our calculator out. 14,3 divided by 3, and we get an answer of 4,77. I'm going to round it off to 4,77 grams per teaspoon. And let's write that in. Need a pen again. So 1 teaspoon is 4,77 grams. Now I can use that fact to answer I need half a teaspoon. So I'm going to times my half, which I'm going to write as 0,5 times by 4,77. And in actual fact, on my calculator, let's get back the calculator up, I've got this number that I haven't actually rounded off. So I'm going to use that on the calculator because it's already there. So if you write 4,77 and you've cleared your calculator, that's fine, because we're dealing with such minute amounts. But if I haven't cleared it, I'm just going to take that and times that by 0,5 and see what my answer is, and I get 2,38 grams. 2,38 grams. And that's what she needs to measure. So I would probably have measured it as 2.5 grams, probably would make it. I'm not even sure how accurate her scale is. So
she's probably freestyling at this point.
probably freestyling at this point.
Yeah.
How's our time going?
The thing is, we have about 10 more minutes, so it's up to you. If you want to continue, we can go for it, or do you want to take a quick ad break and give these guys a bit of a break?
I think let's take a quick ad break and then let's go back to our challenge question maybe.
Awesome. So guys, as Haley said, go take a quick break, get some snacks, get something to eat, get some water, make sure you keep yourself hydrated, keep yourself energized, make sure you're making those notes, and we'll see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to grade 10 maths literacy today with Haley. Guys, I hope you're paying attention. Make sure if you guys are lost anywhere, make sure you post on the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/learnextra. Guys, the page is a bit quiet today. Where are you? Where are my peoples? Come on, grade 10s, get those questions in. I'm seeing a couple of you answering the challenge question, and we're actually going to go through it now with Haley. So,
thanks, Tom. I'm going to go through the challenge question. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So you've got the challenge question on Facebook, so you can read it exactly there. But I'm going to just kind of step a little bit out the box. Temperature is measured using different scales. We discussed this here we do Celsius. In the US, they use Fahrenheit. So you have an aunt who lives in New York who's doing research into global temperature reading. She asks you to record the minimum and maximum temperature each week for a month. Right. She also sends you these instructions to convert temperatures. Now, this is slightly different to the one that I've given you in your challenge, because now I've got converting Fahrenheit to Celsius. So, lost my pen. So if I want to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, what do? I subtract 32 degrees from the Fahrenheit temperature. I then multiply my answer by 5, and I divide that answer by 9. And please be careful. You have to do BODMAS in this? Well, in actual fact, you have to do the subtracting first. So if you don't, if you just enter it straight onto your calculator, you're going to end up with a BODMAS problem. So we need to actually press equals at the end of that part of the question. Now let's see what the question says. It says, use the instructions to write down an equation to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Well, let's go through. We've got converting Fahrenheit to Celsius, so let's do that first. So Fahrenheit to Celsius, your Celsius is actually your Fahrenheit temperature minus, I think that's the other way around, degrees Fahrenheit, we said minus 32. I say was the first one we said, we subtract 32 from the Fahrenheit temperature. And I said you must do that first, so we're going to put a bracket around it. Then I need to multiply by 5, so I'm going to times by 5, and divide by 9, so I'm actually going to put the 9 divided by 9. So that is my formula for degrees Celsius. Now let's try the other way around. If I want to get to Fahrenheit, well, I'm going to have to do the opposite of this. And I'm going to have to start with step 3. So I'm going to take my degrees Celsius, and I'm going to first times it by 9, divide it by 5, and then finally I'm going to add 32. It is the opposite. So now let's go to our question where we had to look at our temperatures. Okay? And the question we had was 76. That was our maximum. So we need to convert, and this is degrees Fahrenheit. So what are we going to use? We're going to use the formula that we had. I'm going to go back to that formula. So I don't want to leave this question. If we've got time, we'll finish the rest of the questions. We're going to use the formula for degrees Fahrenheit. That's what we got. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to substitute. So I've got 76 degrees. I say minus 32. And I'm going to use brackets or press equals, times by 5, and divide by 9. So on my calculator, I'm going to say, where's my calculator? I'm going to say 76, and then minus my 32 equals, I'm going to times it by 5 equals, and divide it by 9 equals. And I get an answer of 24,4. How many did we get right?
I'm seeing a couple here, and I think the first person to get it right was Gabby. And then Kashifa, as always, who was helping on the page, as she always does, also got that one right. And yeah, a couple of other grade 10s kind of also got a bit lost, but I think this helped a lot to explain.
Well, I want to say well done to those of you that got it right. And guys, just realize that they're going to probably give you the formula to do this. So all you need to do is take your time, even if it's something that you haven't seen before. Take your time, one step at a time, and eventually you probably will get the answer. It's just substituting in the values. So I think that's perfect. So I think we're running out of time, so I probably don't have time to go through this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a quick recap, and then we'll hand over to you because I don't have time to finish the question. Guys, just remember, when you're doing conversions, simple, one step at a time. Okay, you're dealing with time, one step at a time. When you're reading your question, read your questions carefully, and don't forget to reread the questions at the end. I always say that, reread the questions at the end. Make sure you've actually answered the question that they've given you. And I've had fun with you guys today, but I'm going to hand you over to Tai now, who will take us to the end of the show, I think.
So guys, I hope that was super helpful. I hope that you guys are chatting on the page. If you're lost anywhere, again, guys, the platform is there for you. And I'm glad to see people helping each other out there. Guys, tackling that challenge question. It's good to see always. So guys, make sure you talk to each other, and make sure that you interact with each other. And guys, I'll be seeing you next week. No, actually, I'll be seeing you from the 16th. Yes.
There are no shows next week.
Exactly. Guys on holiday. So see you guys later. Bye.